The AKT is a shit exam. It's a 3-hour exam to finish 300 questions, which gives you 54 seconds a question. I left after 90 minutes, which meant that I spent, on average, 27 seconds per question because I didn't want to get a parking ticket. I think the first thing you need to get out of your system is that this is not a very good exam. It's sat in one of those driving test centres. The quicker you get over the fact that this isn't a good exam, the quicker you can actually start preparing for it. I mean, when comparing it to when I did my MRCS, that's actually a really good exam. It prepares you really well for the job that you need to do. This exam, perhaps not. But anyway, it doesn't matter, you got to do the exam anyway. What resources should one use? The main resource that I used was Passmedicine. The good thing about this one is it's really cheap. The bad thing though is I think a lot of the questions aren't very appropriate for the AKT exam. The question quality varies considerably. I think they've just taken questions from either MRCGP or some of the other exams, so they're not always great. The good thing is the comment section on there is full of gold. And you can often get a good sense of if it's a good quality question or not just by looking at the comments that they've got on there. Some people have found that actually their notes for revision are also quite useful, but I think this is the cheapest option. Go through the question bank once and then go through any of the questions that you got wrong, and that's probably it. This is not one of those question banks where you need to do 3-4 times. I don't think it's high yield. I think that the RCGP self-test question bank is far better. So if you're in the UK, this is free. It's covered as part of your membership to the Royal College, but if you're an international student, this is definitely worth paying for. The questions are a lot better in terms of their structure, closer to the exam style, and it gives you just guidelines. And there's about 2,000 of those questions, so definitely worth just going through those as many times as you can. I did go on a revision course. I don't recommend them unless you're either an international student and not very familiar with UK-based practice, or you can get it fully funded on study budget. If you can't get them fully funded on the study budget, I don't think they're that particularly useful. But if you can, then it's just good for kickstarting your revision and getting in the right mindset and giving you some revision packs that it's just something for you to go through closer to the exam when you're like, how do I actually revise for this? I've done all the questions, and it's just good to have that in the back of your mind. You know, the earlier you start, the less intense your revision is going to be. And the last thing is the Telegram groups. There's always a Telegram group. There was one, I'll post it somewhere. This is just a group where you get free resources, and someone often does a Zoom call every now and again on certain topics. Again, I didn't find this particularly helpful, but I think it's one of those things where it's kind of passive. You just listen to the Zoom call in the background and see if something sticks. The closest thing to the exam is that the RCGP has done mock questions and mock data interpretation stuff. For me, data interpretation isn't really a problem. I'm quite good at stats, so I wasn't worried about that. But this is the exact format and the exact STEM style and the questions that you'll get in the actual exam. It's done by the RCGP themselves. I think it's 50 questions. I'll post a link to it in the bottom. Go through this. This will give you the closest experience to the exam. You'll realize actually the questions are much easier than Passmedicine in general, and I think it's a better way of getting yourself into the right mindset. The RCGP also published study guides on what candidates have struggled with in the past, and they will focus on that. This is just all free stuff that you can find on their website, so it's just worth doing that again closer to your exam and finding out what some of the weak areas of previous candidates have been. And also don't neglect your own weak areas. For me, that was haematology. And so I spent a bit of time going through haematology and gynae. I was quite good on stats and surgery, so I didn't spend any time on that. Remember that the stats are in your favour. 80% of UK graduates pass this exam first time, so you should be alright.